Samsung's QN80F Neo QLED TV sits in the mid-tier of their 2025 lineup, featuring mini LED technology, full HDMI 2.1 support, and competitive brightness and contrast performance. Positioned below the QN85F and above the more entry-level models, the QN80F is targeted at consumers who want premium features without venturing into ultra-high-end pricing territory. But while you might expect typical Neo QLED performance out of it, the QN80F is the Samsung Q80D successor, which was not a Neo QLED TV. So, does the new model perform more like its Neo QLED namesakes, or more like the TV it replaces? Hi, I'm Alex from RTINGS.com, and we're about to find out. Let's start with brightness, an important aspect of any mini LED TV. In filmmaker mode with HDR tone mapping set to static, the QN80F reaches 930 nits in a 10% HDR window, which is solid, but not remarkable compared to flagship models. Smaller highlights are vivid and impactful, but the TV can't match the dazzling highlights or sustained brightness of the premium Samsung QN90F or TCL's QM7K and QM8K. In game mode, the brightness remains consistent. Real scenes actually look brighter than in filmmaker mode, though strangely, test slide results are lower. Still, overall brightness feels about the same whether you're gaming or watching movies. Overall, HDR content looks good, but it lacks the vibrant punch you'd expect from its price range. Brightness accuracy on the QN80F is excellent, as it displays most content at the brightness level intended by the content creator. Still, if we're nitpicking, and we are, all content is slightly dimmer than intended, but shadow details are displayed well. And for gamers, we have some news. Samsung recently removed HGIG support with firmware update 11.25.9 with the intention of moving it to the original game genre setting, but it's not working properly. Now, surprise! Samsung is reversing their decision, so they're reintroducing the game HDR setting that we're used to. This should restore the tone mapping behavior that we've been accustomed to until just recently. So check your TV for a new firmware update soon, if you haven't already received it already. Before moving on, let's tackle processing. The TV is decent overall, but it has strengths and weaknesses. First, its low-quality content smoothing is alright. Still, while it does smooth out some macro blocking out of low bitrate content, it does so by losing a fair amount of detail. It fares way better when upscaling content, as the resulting feed is sharp and clear, even if it, again, loses some detail. Thankfully, as we often see from Samsung, the TV really excels in gradients. There's almost no noticeable banding in any color. Contrast on the QN80F is commendable due to its mini LED backlight system and local dimming capabilities. However, compared to other offerings at its price point, Samsung really falls behind. Although blacks are decently deep and rich, there is a noticeable glow in scenes where the local dimming solution can't quite keep up. There's also visible flicker and image duplication as bright objects move from zone to zone. Black uniformity is okay, but you'll never mistake this TV for an OLED. The entire screen is a bit cloudy when bright highlights are on the screen, even with local dimming set to high. Overall, these issues are minor as the TV still delivers very satisfactory black levels, but they're disappointing at this price point. In standard dynamic range, the QN80F delivers between 550 and 600 nits in typical real-world scenes. It's bright enough for most environments, including well-lit living rooms, although not if you have windows instead of walls. Especially with its poor reflection handling, those windows would just be reflected right back at you, so you would end up watching your neighbors instead of the content being shown on your TV. It fares a bit better when faced with ambient sources of light, but there's some notable light banding on the screen when it's being hit by light from the side. Sometimes you just can't win. Overall, you'll probably want to turn off some lights with the QN80F. HDR color volume is solid, showcasing vivid and saturated colors that remain vibrant even at higher brightness levels. Colors do desaturate a little bit at high luminance levels, but not by much. Overall, this is a colorful TV in HDR, but not so much in SDR. Does it matter? Well, if you're watching BT709 content and leaving your TV to the auto color space, not really. But if you like to force your TV into a wider SDR color space, or if you watch DCI-P3 or BT2020 content, it's a bit of a letdown. Color volume is great, but it's not worth much unless the TV is accurate, right? Well, actually, it depends on what you're looking for, but we sure love our TVs accurate here at RTINGS.com. And luckily, the QN80F isn't too bad on that front. In SDR, the TV's accuracy is quite good, with mostly accurate gamma and almost no color errors. The one problem here is in the whites, as blues are slightly underrepresented in brighter shades of gray, which makes the TV slightly warm right out of the box. Now, in HDR, the TV isn't so accurate. There are significant color errors across the board. So many, we don't really know where to start. The TV's white balance is also noticeably off, and again, blues are underrepresented in brighter shades, making the entire TV too warm again. Thankfully, the TV is easy to calibrate, so your calibrator won't be swearing under their breath as they try to rein in the TV. Also, this TV isn't half bad for gaming. It comes equipped with 4 full HDMI 2.1 ports, each supporting 4K at 144Hz, auto low latency mode or ALLM, and VRR capabilities. Input lag is extremely low and its pixel transitions are pretty quick for an LED TV. But it's not without its flaws. Its biggest one is that image quality takes a hit when in game mode, as the local dimming feature is slower, which makes zone transitions more noticeable than in filmmaker mode. Alright, time for some comparisons. First, what if you're also considering the more premium QN90F? Honestly, it's not even close. The QN90F is better in every way. The QN90F blasts away the QN80F in peak brightness, handling of reflections, thanks to its matte finish, black levels, and colors. It looks way more impressive. The QN80F does have the edge in some areas such as PQ EOTF tracking and SDR pre-calibration accuracy, but overall, it isn't close. While you would think that the QN80F would be more like last year's QN85D in terms of performance, you'd be wrong. That's because the QN80F is the Samsung Q80D's replacement and performs more like that TV than it does any TV in the Neo QLED range. Even worse, last year's Q80D often performs a bit better than its successor. A bit brighter, better black levels, more vibrant colors. The one advantage of the QN80F is 144Hz support. That's pretty much it. We'd recommend you save some money and go with the Q80D if you really want to go for a mid-tier Samsung. So far, we haven't been extremely kind to the Samsung QN80F, and it's mostly because of this upcoming TV, the TCL QM7K. Not only is the TCL cheaper, but it's also significantly better. It's brighter in HDR and SDR, has way better black levels, and is just as colorful. It's also the better gaming TV due to its faster pixel response times and 1080p at 288Hz or 4K at 144Hz support. Finally, it supports both HDR10+ and Dolby Vision, while all Samsung TVs support just HDR10+. Plus, the TCL passes through advanced DTS audio formats, while the Samsung doesn't. That's not to say that the TCL is better in every way. The Samsung is much more accurate in HDR out of the box and has less banding. If you're not tied to Samsung's Tizen ecosystem, or don't require Samsung's polished gaming UI, the QM7K is the better performer at a lower price. The Samsung QN80F Neo QLED is a competent TV with notable strengths in gaming and software refinement. However, its pricing relative to competitors, or even its own ecosystem, makes it difficult to recommend. If your priority is Samsung's ecosystem and polished interface, the QN80F delivers, but consider the vastly superior QN90F first, or even last year's Q80D. If you want maximum performance and value, TCL's QM7K is a superior option at a lower price. Thanks for watching our review of the Samsung QN80F. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and check out our full measurements on ratings.com. Until next time, I'm Alex from ratings.com, where we help you find the best products for your needs. Bye! First, it's low quality content smoothie. Low quality content smoothie is really good. Lots of protein packed in there. A good amount of different variations of flavors, some different berries, some mangoes in there. It's got its pros and cons. All right, let's run that back.